All right, welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. We got another edition of the AP Film Room underway here on the YouTube page, the Arrowhead Pride YouTube page. Make sure you're checking out everything else we got going on at arrowheadpride.com. But fellas, we are talking about a heck of a game today. I was at the game, and I still can't believe it happened, even though I was an eyewitness of it. 42-36 overtime win. So much to talk about. Fair warning. I'm going to give the viewers a fair warning right off the bat. We're going to probably go a little long here tonight. There's a lot to talk about, a lot to break down. Talon, I'm going to start with you, man. Just give me your, we're fans, right? We're all Chiefs fans. Give me your reaction as a fan to that game Sunday night, man. That was insane.
It was, man. I mean, I never thought like these guys would top what we've seen before, but they still do. They still shock us, and I don't know how they continue to do that, but they did it. So it's just one of those moments where it's surreal. It's like this is the peak of Chiefs right now, and we're experiencing it. And it's just I don't know if it'll ever get better than this. But again, they've shocked me before, so I don't know. We'll see.
Man, that's funny you say that. That's like almost my initial reaction too. Was like, how do they keep topping things they've already done that have already been insane? Especially in like Mahomes, what he does. I mean, 13 seconds. I mean, that's all we need to say about it, right, Brian? I mean, that was just nuts, dude. What did you think about Sunday night?
I'll take you right to that moment, and our perspectives were probably a lot different. You were in the stadium, Ron. Talon and I, though, I think I probably speak for him here too. When the 13 seconds was left and they're about to kick the ball off, I mean, in that moment, I'm starting to write my part for our Insta breakdown. And that's something that like the viewers and the readers, which, of course we love our viewers and readers, but one thing that they don't experience for better or worse is, when that happened, I don't think anybody really felt like talking to, you probably didn't feel like talking to the person next to you, let alone having to start writing about it. And I was, typing out sentences about how the defense, it let them down. It cost them the season on that night. And like Talon said, the offense, they upped basically the already incredible things they've done in the past. And so now we get the honor of having a upbeat tone for this video.
Yes.
And it won't be the last one. We're going to be reviewing a game next week, no matter what. And of course, I think, we're all feeling pretty good about where they're going from here, but hey, we're not the team. The team, they need to move on to Cincinnati completely at this point. But we get the luxury of kind of getting to show our viewers, this is how they did this stuff, and it's going to be pretty cool. So we're excited.
Yeah, you guys, man, first year writing for AP. I mean, that was probably an experience having to, deal with thinking you're about to write a losing article. That is not fun, man. It is not fun. But what is fun is Tyreek Hill touchdowns, and that's what we're gonna start tonight. The reason I wanted the first point of this play I really want to point out is how much the Bills are trying to take away, just I guess by the cornerback's leverage. So okay, first of all, they're in they're in cover 2 man. Obviously, looks like a bit of a press man, soft press, and they want to take away inside leverage from these receivers, right? I mean, you see it right off the bat. All these guys are kind of, facing the outside, right? They don't want the receivers to win inside. They're kind of shading that way. And Tyreek's the same way, right? The guy on Tyreek. This is the funny part to me is that he's literally trying not to make him go inside, and Tyreek just says, "You know what? I'm going anyway. I'm getting inside anyway." And then he's just gone. So let's take a little closer look at this play. Like I said, the inside leverage thing. Mahomes just patiently, just knowing that as soon as McKinnon goes to the flat, Edmonds is with him, and that middle field is going to open wide open. Now, I did point this out on Twitter. This was the only time all game they ran an intermediate route with Tyreek Hill, a route more than 10 yard or 5 to 10 yards downfield, honestly. And I think it was set up for this play. Now, if everyone remembers, this was a minute left in the fourth quarter. And I really do think this whole play was designed for Tyreek to pop open. And look at the receivers on the other side of the formation. They're all clearing out vertically. They're all pushing the safeties deeper. And that's just giving Tyreek that window below them. And it's just open. And it's just wide open. And Tyreek makes the inside leverage of the corner not even matter. So, Talon, this is where I'm going to ask you because you've had some good takes on cornerback play, and when we've talked about this, and what else can you do if you're Levi Wallace here, number 39 of the Bills corner? I mean, he's trying to take away Tyreek's inside, anything inside, and he just can't. Is there anything else he can do? I mean, what about this play is just what can he do, Talon?
I mean, maybe not press Tyreek Hill. I mean, the dude's, that's just not wise. But outside of that, I mean, technique-wise, that's just speed kills. There's not much you can do there. Maybe take a look at the safety of, as soon as Tyreek Hill's coming inside, why is he not driving down on that? Like, I understand you got 3 reps coming deep and you got to cover, but like, man, it's Tyreek Hill and it looks like the ball's already out of the hands. Like, I don't know what your safety is doing back here. I don't know who that is. You're all pro safety apparently, but but cornerback wise, no, I don't think there's anything else you could have done there. And that's the best receiver in the league and the fastest receiver in the league. And that's why.
Yeah, no, I know. You kind of almost feel bad for Levi Wallace here, but you're right. Pressing Tyreek in man coverage. I mean, that is a little risky, especially late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan, I want to get your take on just. I asked Talon what the cornerback could do. Jordan Poyer, the safety on the other side of this play, tries to come up and make a tackle, and his angle just gets absolutely erased. Is there anything he can do? Can he make a better angle, or is it just that impossible to guard Tyreek or just try to tackle Tyreek? It's just ridiculous. Oh, Bryan, you're muted.
My bad. No, I was going to say, knowing that he had Hyde to his right, maybe you are a little more aggressive to that sideline that Tyreek ends up running up. But more than anything, and so when this happened, I immediately thought back to last year's AFC title game, and Poyer and Hyde, they were mic'd up, and they talked on the sideline. They're like, I've never seen anything like this guy. Like, he had ran away from him on a couple of plays and had some huge gains, and they're just like, this speed is different. And clearly that remains the case. And so in that sense, I don't think there's a whole lot he could have done differently. Like this is – we don't get to appreciate it as much now as we did maybe when Tyreek was younger, early in his career. It was easier to come up with these big plays. And so that's what makes it special when you still see him do this stuff and you realize that it's still in there and he can literally just – I mean, these are 2 all-pro safeties, and he makes them look slow, legitimately slow.
I forgot I had the end zone angle, so now we're seeing it even more. I mean, Poyer's angle isn't bad, really, if he's a regular receiver, but man.
Yeah, it's unreal. And, of course, you see from that angle, too, come on, Mahomes. I mean, I'll let you take that, Ron. It's a play you took right here, but my goodness.
Yeah, no, I've almost forgot I had the end zone angle, so I'm glad I remembered. I really like how Mahomes knows where he's going with this ball, and I like how he's patient. Trey Smith gets walked back a little bit. The left tackle kind of gets caved in a little bit. Mahomes just doesn't even care, man. Nothing about his delivery, nothing about what he's doing changes at all if that was a clean pocket, right? I mean, that's just perfect delivery, perfect timing. Edmonds, like I said, clearing out that middle space, so he'll have no one in that area to even deflect the ball or anything. Great play, awesome play, one of the plays of the game, obviously, but it was not the play of the game, fellas. And and I think this is the play of the game because I don't think, obviously, the Chiefs don't win without this next play I'm about to pop up, and it's that big catch to Tyreek Hill or to Travis Kelce on that last drive, man. Those 13 seconds, the Tyreek Hill catch gets a chunky yards. Then he goes to Kelce. And guys, I really need your opinion. There's not much to break down on this play in terms of like the scheme or whatever. We've all seen it on Twitter, right? How Kelce was basically telling Mahomes, hey, I'm just running to the open space. This seam's going to be open. This is not what the play is calling for, but I'm just running into open space. And that's exactly what he does. And that's exactly where I want to start this point. What are the Bills doing here? I cannot believe you let Kelce get that open up the seam. You don't play any sort of inside coverage on him. That linebacker in the middle of the field is not even worried about Kelce. He's not even thinking about Kelce. I know Kelsey's a single receiver guy, so he's probably, hey, there's 3 receivers on the other side. You might give them more help, but oh my gosh. I couldn't believe this. I could not believe this is what their plan was. This is just way too easy. How do you have an elite defense and not have a better plan for how to stop Kelce? This is where Mahomes wants to go. There's no time to do anything else but throw a quick pass to Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill. But just Kelce is just the more reliable target, the guy he probably wants to throw to more. Unbelievable mistake in my opinion. I want your guys' opinion too on, I'll start with Bryan this time. I don't know, Bryan, is there anything as a Bills defense you think, or was this just a great chemistry play by Patrick and Travis just knowing exactly where to be?
It's definitely that part. We don't know, in large part, we don't know how many other tight ends and quarterbacks have this kind of chemistry and leeway to where Andy Reid, I mean, he trusts these guys to do what I'm sure Andy didn't even really know, because what had happened was they lined up before the timeout. Buffalo called a timeout. Travis said, hey, if they line up like that again, he's going to do exactly what you see on the screen here, and cut that seam. I think in hindsight, to me, and I know they just gave up that touchdown to Tyreek Hill that was on 60, 70 yards, but they're playing defense as if the Chiefs have to get a touchdown.
Yes.
And I think as risky as it is, they should have been playing it more like they had to get a field goal, because that's what it was. They were too soft. And with the Chiefs' speed they have, even if it would have been, Mecole Hardman getting the ball into his hands quick, there's too much speed out there to just let them have all that space when they needed about 20 yards to have a realistic field goal opportunity. So just a little too soft for my taste. It's easy to say that now, but it played out. So that's what I'd say on that one.
Talon, do you agree with that? What are you thinking about this?
Yeah, I agree. They're very scared of the deep threat though, because you see they're overloading that right side with that trips receiver set. They got three. They got a linebacker, 2 DBs, and then a safety over the top. Man, they're really scared, and then even that back safety is even kind of drifting that way. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I'm not really sure how you're not thinking Kelce. And I think that's just what happened. They were thinking, they're going to take a shot at Hardman. They're going to take a shot with Hill. They're thinking speed. And for whatever reason, Kelce slips through the cracks. And I think this was just a really wise play from Kelce and Mahomes, and the fact that they recognize this. And this is what experience does. And this is more than talent. This is football IQ. And that's what makes this team so special, and that's what makes them so hard to beat. And even with 13 seconds, nothing's safe.
Man, that's a great point, man. It's experience. This is just Mahomes and Kelce just knowing what to do. And Bryan mentioned it. They did call a timeout before this play. And, Bryan, I actually didn't take a great look at exactly how they lined up before, but I do know before they called that timeout, there was a guy pressed on Kelce. There was a corner on the line of scrimmage. It might have been a safety on the line of scrimmage, press, not, in a position to align and press Kelce. That's a great idea, in my opinion. I would think that'd be a good idea for this situation, because here's the thing. They don't even have time to get it downfield. They don't have time to throw. You see where Tyreek Hill's route is going deep middle. Mahomes doesn't have time to get to that route. So it's just, there's 4 seconds left. There's 7 seconds left. Excuse me, 7 seconds left. But it's just, no other play could happen except a quick pass. That's the only thing they could do. They don't even have time to score a touchdown, really, unless it's like a yak play, right? Or unless it's Tyreek Hill catching it quick and just making everybody miss. But no, I honestly couldn't believe it. You think the linebacker towards the middle would just shade towards Kelce a little more, just to not make the seam so easy. And Kelce does run a good route, and you can see it from the other angle. He does bend towards the corner to kind of push him out and create that separation, create that space. Jesus Christ. People are texting me as soon as we start doing this. I of course that happens, but yeah, we're very professional here on the AP Film Room. But we are going to go to another play, another great play, and this actually, this actually set up the game-winning touchdown. I bet everyone was expecting me to maybe break down that Travis Kelce touchdown, but the play before, honestly, was just a great design. And one thing that I wanted to emphasize about what the Chiefs did was the Bills didn't always play man coverage, but when they did, the Chiefs executed and took advantage of it every single time. And this was another one of those examples. So Bills risk it by sending an extra guy here, and so that actually gets them into cover 1 man. And so there's only one high safety here, and everyone else is locked up in man. And the Chiefs know that, and what do? They get a bunch formation to the left. And what that naturally does, guys, is that just creates traffic. There's 3 man players trying to guard 3 Chiefs players. And when they're all together in the same area, it can create some traffic. And that's exactly what happens. And that's exactly why the Mecole Hardman's man coverage receiver wasn't able to get man coverage defender wasn't able to get to his route, cover him on the shallow route. And that's why Mecole Hardman pops wide open here. You see Travis Kelce coming out of the tight end spot. First of all, he gets a little shove from the D end on his way in. But look, it could be OPI. I do think Kelce could have probably maybe sold a route a little better. It does look like he kind of puts a shoulder into him a little more than just runs into him. But it doesn't get called, and I'm glad. I think that happens a lot. I don't think refs should be calling that because I think that's just part of it. That's part of playing man coverage in the NFL today is you're going to get picked sometimes. So I just think it's a great play design. Kelce executes the pick perfectly, obviously. They purposely put Jerick McKinnon into the flat on the opposite side of Mecole Hardman's route, obviously. So there's just nobody over there. And the next play was the touchdown. So I don't know how much you guys need to say about this, but this might be a good time to maybe give Mecole some props. I think Mecole has really stepped up and made some big plays down the stretch of the season. It may not be coming at a big volume, but just plays like this, man, utilizing his speed, utilizing the fact that he's not going to get the attention that Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce get. And this is exactly, I think, a great example of that is I think if this is Tyreek Hill trying to run this shallow route, he's not going to get open that open, right? I do think there might be some defensive situation where, maybe they kind of switch off, right? Because, hey, it's Tyreek, like we can't let him get open, that kind of thing. So all that to say, any words on Mecole Hardman? I think this was an easy play for him, but he made that other really tough play, that touchdown run, right? That was a really good touchdown run off the jet sweep. Talon.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is what Mecole can bring to the table. It was funny because I was actually talking to a few buddies earlier about, he touched the ball 3 times, but he's getting a lot of love, and he should, because every time he touched it, he did big things. So yeah, hats off to him. This is a big performance.
Bryan, how you feeling about Mecole?
Well, so this is what I'm really proud of with his growth is he's stacking these weeks together. Used to it was like, you'd get that 1 week where he ripped off a 75-yard touchdown and then he'd disappear for a couple weeks. And now what we've seen is a few weeks in a row of him just really fitting into this nice role. I do wonder, so this just made me think, I don't see Tyreek out on the field for this play. I would assume that Buffalo would not run this single high man coverage if Tyreek was out there. That's just a theory, I guess, because they don't have anybody who can cover him one-on-one, especially with one high safety. And so in that way, it's kind of it's a neat way that the Chiefs took advantage of their call here to go with the man coverage, and they slept on Hardman clearly because you get that speed out in the open like that. And I think this is the play. When I was watching live, this was the play where I was like, oh, they're going to win this game for sure. So, yeah, I love what Hardman's doing. He's taking care of business, making the plays that are available to him.
That is why we do this on the AP Film Room. Great observations like that from Bryan. No, I think you're right, dude. I think you're 100% right. They saw Tyreek Hill not on the field and said, hey, this is a chance we get to maybe get some pressure on Pat, maybe get a sack, maybe take them out of field goal range, right? This is going to be the chance we take because Tyreek Hill is not on the field to take advantage of it. But that's the thing, man. Mecole, as much as not obviously, he's not the same receiver as Tyreek. We all know that. But he has very similar explosiveness and speed. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I still think the Chiefs literally have the 2 fastest players in the NFL on their team. And I think Mecole deserves that reign. So we're talking more offense though. And Talon, I want to dish it to you. We're going to talk some pass pro. It was really good. And I actually, before I hand it back to you, I do want to say Patrick Mahomes' pocket presence might have been the best of the entire season, and it was very noticeable. I'll have something out on the offensive performance in general, and Talon will have something out on the pass pro. But man, I just wanted to say, man, it was one of Patrick Mahomes' best performances from a pocket standpoint, and this wasn't this was a kind of a clean pocket here. Talon, what are you seeing from this play?
Yeah, 100% agree about Mahomes. So I'm looking forward to that piece coming out later. But yeah, man, the offensive line had a really good game against Buffalo, and they get a lot of talk about being the best defense, and it's deserved. They're an elite defense. But what they don't really have is that elite pass rusher, right? Like Greg Russo might develop into one, but he's still on that rookie phase. And Mario Addison is decent. Jerry Hughes is more of a run stuffing defensive end, and their interior defensive line depth is really impressive. So I think in that way, it really kind of not benefited because this is a great front, but it did aid a little bit in terms of the way the offensive tackles especially were able to prepare and play this game, because we've seen Orlando Brown and Andrew Wiley get exposed with those speed rushers, the TJ Watts, the Nick Bosa's, and those players of that nature. So the fact that Buffalo didn't have that type of edge rusher was a big deal for the offensive line for Kansas City. And I mean, look at it here, man. Orlando Brown is absolutely controlling Addison this entire rep, and at the end he gets a little ground game, and Addison's rolling on the ground. So, and then Wiley on the other side, he's doing a great job as well. And we've seen Wiley struggle at times, especially when guys get into his chest. And he's doing a great job here, mirroring, not letting his anchor get too far back. So I think all across the board, and the interior offensive line was elite the entire time. But this rep especially, I thought it was a great example of how well this offensive line did, and just the way that the pocket maneuvered around Mahomes and just kept him clean.
Man, you got to shout out Andrew Wiley. I think he's not getting enough credit for what he's been able to do since having to take over at right tackle. And I admit, I mean, I've kind of been saying, oh man, it's a liability at right tackle, but plays like this, that's not being a liability. I mean, that's a great effort, great job. I mean, that's just awesome, man. It's really cool to see Wiley, do that, because, he was a guard for a lot of his career, and he actually did start at tackle. So it might be more of a natural position for him, maybe. But Brian, any impressions from this play, or we got more offensive line to talk about, but I mean, maybe just Mahomes. I mean, his patience here. I really like that, Brian.
Yeah. So there were so many times you couldn't really tell what he was going to do in terms of his way that he manipulated the pocket and where he would escape through. But it seemed like every time wherever he went, it worked. And that's different than what we saw early in the year. Early in the year, it seemed like whatever he did didn't work. And it was in if nothing else, big hits, and a lot of times even sacks. So it was just incredible to see. He's moving around well. I think early in the year too, coming back from the toe injury, he didn't quite look to have that same burst and athleticism, and he's definitely got that back. And so that's going to serve him well, because we know they're going to face some great pass rushing teams, and this week in the Bengals and possibly in the Super Bowl if they win that game. So.
Yeah, you're not kidding. If we do want to look a little ahead, I mean, there's going to be some pass rushers no matter who they play for the remainder of the season. I mean, they're going to have to deal with some guys. So, and here's another example of maybe not as good of a play as the last one. Talon, what do you got here?
Yeah, I just we've been hard on Orlando Brown so much this season, and even last show we really kind of put it on him, and even kind of questioned his future with the team, and I'm still on that. I'm not sure he is a long-term answer at left tackle, but man, Orlando Brown deserves a lot of love for his performance against Buffalo, and this is a really good example here of this is what an elite offensive tackle is supposed to look like, and that's what he's doing. He's really not losing any sort of leverage to his man. He's got good footwork. His kick step is nice. His hands are in nice placement. He's really controlling that steering wheel. So this is one of the best reps I've seen from Orlando Brown all year, and I'm happy to see it in this sort of game. So yeah, one of the main reasons I picked this clip out was just to single him out and give him the love he deserved.
Yeah, no, this is really good fundamentals here. I mean, you see sometimes Brown just gets really high with his hands, and it's like, it's natural, right? I mean, you're freaking a giant. He is a very tall offensive tackle, but that's really good hand placement there. You're right. Getting the steering wheel. I love that term. And that's exactly what he does. And Wiley on the other side, this is where Wiley is. Yeah, hey, I'm a little lighter than the usual NFL right tackle, and this is what can happen sometimes. But still, props to him for staying in front and not allowing him to get a hit on Mahomes. That's what matters, right? He does kind of have to hold at the end to maybe make sure that doesn't happen. They don't call it, so that's what you got to do as an offensive lineman. Brian, any other things you're seeing from this play, or hey, you were the one who brought up the Orlando Brown talk last time, which I think we jumped on. Did this game give you any different change of thought from last week?
I'm definitely really proud of the performance he put out. Like, he was, I would say, arguably the best offensive lineman in that game. On the flip side of it, I'm trying to temper my excitement because you got to recognize Buffalo, like was mentioned earlier, they don't really have that edge rusher who takes over games. I think their leading sack defensive lineman was up around 7, somewhere in there. They don't have a TJ Watt. They don't have, dare I say, even Alex Highsmith, who gave Brown problems. And so, like, this weekend, when he sees, because if you remember back to the first Bengals game, he didn't play. He got hurt in pregame warmups. He's going to have a really big challenge on his hands with Trey Hendrickson. And I'm prepared to see him lose a few times. And hopefully Mahomes can just kind of make sure that those plays don't become disastrous with the way he moves. But I also am hopeful that he'll put in a good enough performance to where you do have to think more, and you can't just say, okay, they got to move on from this guy. I mean, I really hope he makes the decision hard, because that's good news for the team, and because you need that position locked down long term.
100%. You got the franchise quarterback. You definitely want a guy you can trust. But that's why it's such an important decision, why you shouldn't just say, hey, we traded for him, he's our guy. We shouldn't even think twice about it. Great point, though, Brian. Again, thinking about the Bengals game, man, I meant to tweet this out, honestly, because it's funny. I would actually rather have Joe Thuney at left tackle against Trey Hendrickson than Orlando Brown, just because of the play styles. I really think Trey Hendrickson's the type of guy that can really give Brown trouble just because of his stature. He's a shorter guy. He can bend around the edge very well and has the speed. And we all know that's kind of something Brown struggles with, which is completely fine. It's not completely fine, but it's just part of who he is. And we all understand that. And he's getting better and better at it. But yeah, it is kind of funny, right? I do think there might be – the Chiefs were missing their starting left tackle last game. They're getting back this time, but they might be more disadvantaged because he's back in the lineup this time. Because honestly, yeah, you put Allegretti at left guard and Thuney at left tackle. I'm not saying they should do that or anything, but it's just in terms of the matchup with Hendrickson, man, that's actually, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, Brian, because I thought about that. And I should have transitioned as I was rambling on there, and I did not. So now you have to deal with me stalling a little bit, but we got another play. I did it long enough. Third play of the pass pro here, Talon. What are we seeing? It looks like the Bills tried to maybe change it up a little bit with how they rushed here. What are you seeing from this play?
Yeah, man. Both of these guys try to get around the edge, and this is where we've seen these tackles struggle. We've mentioned it multiple times. The left tackle, Orlando Brown, really struggles with quickness, and the right tackle, Andrew Riley, really struggles when guys get into his chest, and he really has a hard time slowing that down. And that's what these guys are doing. They're trying to expose the weakness, but Wiley holds up and just enough, and he does a fantastic job of really kind of rerouting the path of the defensive end, and he's trying to go through him, but he ends up kind of rerouting, and then he loses balance and he gets him on the ground. So this is a good rep by Wiley. He does get pushed back a little bit, but he recovers, and he really does a nice job at the end. And then Brown, he does a really nice job here too. You see Hughes tries to get that slant, right? Tries to get him get underneath those shoulder pads of Brown and angle himself toward Mahomes, which that's just film study. If you watch any film on Orlando Brown, you've seen him lose to that move multiple times. But here Hughes just doesn't have the skill set to do it, and Brown does a great job of he's too strong for that angle to work, and there's no footing underneath Hughes, so Brown exposes him there. And I think this is just a really nice rep. And look at the pocket. This is the definition of a pocket. Mahomes has to step up and then escape, but he has the space to do it. And It's a good play all around. It wasn't a negative. It wasn't a sack. So it's a positive play down the field.
Yes. No, you're right. If Mahomes has plenty of time if he wants to actually throw to where he was probably trying to throw. He has plenty of time, plenty of room to get that done. Because the interior offensive line, now I know they don't rush at Mario Addison, number 97. He's more just spying, making sure Mahomes doesn't do anything, which spying with the defensive end, I guess Mahomes isn't crazy fast like Josh Allen. I guess Josh Allen isn't crazy fast either. But yeah, I do think that's a good point on the Orlando Brown thing. I mean, that's the hand usage part. That's what being freaking stronger than everybody can do for you is yeah, you might lose some quickness, but if you can get that powerful paw on him and really, use your strength, man. I mean, that's exactly what happens here. Yeah, he's got to just continue to take advantage of what he can do, his assets as a player, and that's his strength. That's him being bigger and stronger than most of the people he's going to play against. Any last words on the offensive line, Brian, as we transition here to another phase of the game? Any last words?
I don't have any on the line. I think Talon really crushed it there. I do want to point out this is a -1 in the awareness score for Jerick McKinnon, and
Yep.
I say that after being the guy who said, "Hey, McKinnon, basically McKinnon for president last week," because I thought he was so impressive against the Steelers. And man, was this play maddening in real time, because they kind of did it was weird. Like in real time, I thought he actually was in bounds, and I'm like, okay, 2nd and 1, 2nd and 2. And then you find out it wasn't, and it is just so frustrated given the timing of the game. But overall, he did make some plays. Clyde, of course, made a lot of nice plays. Those two together, I think they're going to play a big role for this team looking forward. So, but anyway, I had to point that out. Hopefully, he'll bounce back and be aware of where he's at next time that opportunity comes around.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because it is funny. I feel like at one point I was saying the reason that Clyde maybe shouldn't be the primary back anymore and Darryl should even get more receiving work is that there's just some times where Clyde just doesn't seem to be aware of his surroundings as a receiver. Sometimes he's doing exactly what Jerick did, where he's just too far out of bounds, or just or you actually saw it. Clyde actually had a pass go off his face on that little flick on the goal line. Yeah, that's kind of funny because that is Jerick McKinnon. He's been great, but that's the kind of stuff the little things that can really drive you crazy sometimes. Speaking of getting driven crazy, we got the defense to talk about. Yeah, it wasn't a winning performance from the defense. They literally lost the game, and the offense pulled it out and won it for them. So it is kind of a weird tone, right, to talk about the defense from this week. And Brian's got the objective to do that. And so I'll let you start it off here with one of – if you think this play looks familiar, it's because it happened 3 other freaking times during the game. But Gabriel Davis touchdown, Brian. What do we got going on here?
Right. So I got to start out by saying, like, entering this game, the reason that when I went and predicted how this would play out, I really in my mind saw it playing out like last year's AFC title game. I didn't totally buy into Josh Allen. I didn't think he could step up in the way that Mahomes does in these types of games. And I got to definitely eat some crow on that. Like as I review the game, I watched all this all 22 today. Josh Allen was every bit as good as people are telling you he was, and then some. And truth be told, I came away with it not as – and don't get me wrong, this play is going to be one of the instances where the defense was really bad. But for the most part, it wasn't that the defense was that bad as he was just freaking being Superman out there like we see from Patrick. When Mahomes, he takes over games, and it's like sometimes the defense just can't do anything about it. That's how I kind of felt watching this back. But with this play here, this is one of the first touchdowns of 4 from Allen to Gabe Davis. And it's the play where the D-backs, they collide, and one of them ends up on the ground. So the reason I picked this play, because everybody can see, okay, he scored because the D-backs ran into each other. Snead ends up running into Hughes, knocking him on the ground. But this is one of the few snaps that Spagnuolo did blitz, okay? And one of the very few, might have been the only one, I can't remember right offhand, where he sent he basically sent the house. It's cover zero. There's no free safeties,
Yeah.
no free linebackers, right? So he's sending, like I said, he's sending the house, and it's one-on-one across the board. I did find in rewatching the game, this stuff worked out better than a lot of the plays where they just sent 4, which was the vast majority. I think it was a nice changeup. I kind of wish they would have done it a little more. I feel like it sped Allen up a little bit, and he got the ball out of his hands faster, just like he's supposed to. And unfortunately, in this case, it didn't matter because guy's wide open. And so, in future matchups, that's something I'm looking for. Like, I think they need to just press the issue a little more with Allen. Don't just let him kind of do his thing back there and work through a 4-man rush. But credit to the Bills here. They have a good concept there at the bottom to beat man coverage. And the Chiefs, man, I don't know. Like, it's a tough spot to be in. Even if he doesn't run, I feel like Beasley there, he's open if they want that. But
that's actually the point I'm going to jump on. I'm glad you said that because I think, this play usually should pop Beasley open, right? That's probably where Allen wants to go with the ball is this play is really designed, they're designed to get Snead over pursuing to the outside, then Beasley cuts back in, and then he has all that open space because there's nobody else, obviously, to help. And Allen just makes a great read, right? Because now this is where I want Talon's opinion. Snead comes over and, I mean, it's not necessarily his fault, but you got to be more, you just got to be further away. You just got to get around that. You can't put your own defender on the ground because you get that close to him. I just think that's kind of on Snead. And you tell me what you think, Talon, about this play, specifically Snead and Hughes in coverage. But I just think Snead has to be a little more aware and just not get in contact with his own defender.
Yeah. I think obviously that's the reason for the touchdown, but hats off to Brian Dable, man. He's getting the hype because of things like this. This is just, and Brian touched on it. It's just such a well called and well executed and well designed play. Snead, I would like to see him kind of go over the top. But that, again, that's the design. That leaves Beasley wide open. But then again, if you play underneath, this is just a really, really good design by the offense, and they execute. And unfortunately, we got guys running into each other, and that's never what you want to see. If Gabriel Davis makes this play with a cornerback right on his hip, okay, that's a great play. But when you got a guy falling down because his teammate ran into him, that you just got to hang your head up. That's terrible to see. But yeah, in terms of the way Snead approaches it, that's the design. And unfortunately it worked.
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's why people run pick plays. That's why people run. We just talked about one with Mecole. I mean, this is the worries of playing man coverage is that, the other receivers' routes are going to affect your coverage because they're kind of running into you or however it is. So I agree with you guys. Great play design. And I like that you gave some props to Josh Bryan. He was really good. I mean, and we all know that it's going to be, it's going to be this for a while, right? These two playing next to each other. And we're going to go one last heartbreaking play before we end on a good note. This was the definition of a heartbreaker play because after this play, the entire Chiefs kingdom thought, I don't know how many people actually had faith. I fully accepted that we had lost. I mean, I was fully just sitting in my seat like, wow, we really just blew it. I am an optimistic person, but I mean, come on, there's 13 seconds left. Bryan, what about this play stood out to you that you wanted to break it down?
So this is going to be my favorite one to discuss. I got a question for you guys at the end, but so where I want to go first here, the Bills, again, I think Brian Dable, this is like really good stuff. Okay. He sets up this play. There's a little motion there. I think it's before the clip shows here, but anyways, you see Baker start to come down towards the slot there and he bumps Snead in. Okay. Now, I don't know. To me, I don't think they're pure man on man. I kind of think it's like, okay, if one of these two guys comes out, Baker's going to take that receiver and Snead will take the other.
Yeah.
Just based on how they're lined up. I'm not positive on that, but that's how it appears to me. And unfortunately, what happens is
oh no.
Did we lose him?
Oh no. Brian was just about to make the greatest point. The most amazing point Brian is about to make. God, we've been really lucky with technical difficulties on this show. So it's only right that we had a few tonight. I do.
Chiefs had a few technical difficulties of their own, so it's only right that we did. But hey, we're still gonna win it.
Yes, exactly. We're still gonna win this show. Brian, you cut off as soon as you're about to make an excellent point. Go ahead and if you remember that point you were about to make, go ahead.
Yeah, so Watts at the bottom of the screen, him and Ward. I mean, Watts has given his attention to Diggs. He's going to help Ward with Diggs because that's the guy you think they would call on in this situation. And so Snead, in a lot of ways, ends up one-on-one with Gabe Davis. And I don't like the leverage pre-snap. He puts himself in a tough spot, right? When you got a strong-arm quarterback like Josh Allen and Snead plays that outside leverage initially, it makes a throw like this a lot more viable. Allen really doesn't even have to smoke that thing in there. He drives it, but it's definitely not everything he's got. My question I'm posed to you guys is, this is where I wonder, what difference does Tyrann Mathieu make? If he's out there, what happens? Does he communicate and get this coverage alignment set up in a better way? Does he, is he ahead of the game? Maybe he did enough film study, realizes, this play to Gabe Davis is on the table and maybe he's in a better position for that. Or is it just, hey, the Bills, they out-executed the Chiefs. It wouldn't have mattered if Tyrann was out there or not. Because if there are plays like that where we missed him, I think this might have been one. And so I'm just interested to hear your take. So, what do you think about that one, Ron?
Talon, I'm gonna let you answer this first. Just go ahead. Brian asked it.
Yeah, I think it's a big difference, man. I think Tyrann in place of Armani Watts here. Armani's biting and he's flat-footed at the 5-yard line, biting on this out route by Diggs. And I get it's Diggs, but protect the end zone. So if you're gonna play this spot and Tyrann's back there, he's playing the end zone, and this might be a shot at the end zone, but Tyrann's either make a play on the ball or possibly even pick it. But I do think Tyrann makes a difference on this play here. And Armani, I know he was thrust into a terrible situation. He's totally green, in terms of in game situation. So it's just unfortunate, and the Bills took advantage of it.
Yeah, exactly. They really did. I mean, you have to, and. This was a pretty good game to show how valuable Tyrann Mathieu is. Brian, I'm really glad you brought up that point though, because I'm with Talon. I do think this makes a difference. I totally agree. I mean, once you see Stephon kind of turn out on that route, you really should just I feel like you should almost just kind of instinctually look, inward and kind of look for another route to kind of take away. And even if he, maybe Diggs runs like a double move and comes back in, if you make that natural transition to look inside for another route, if it obviously goes to Diggs still and he's on that in-breaker, then you're still in a good position to make a tackle before the goal line maybe. So, yeah, I do think that might have been maybe a reason why Gabriel Davis was so open was I think the Chiefs might have just been so focused on Stephon Diggs for a lot of this game. It was allowing, a lot of their safety help was in towards, paying attention to Stephon Diggs, which I totally get. But at some point you have to adjust. And, maybe this is just one of those things where you can't really, it's hard to blame Spags because, if Tyrann is in that Armani Watts position, he probably is smart enough to understand, like, they've been targeting Gabriel Davis all day on these in-breakers. I know where he is on the field. Like, Tyrann's smart enough to kind of understand that. So I do think it makes a big play in this game. And I'm glad you mentioned at the end, Talon, that, you can't get too mad at Armani Watts, right? I mean, this dude hasn't played a lick of defense since his rookie year, in a legit situation. I guess he did play week 1 when Tyrann was out, but it's hard. It's got to be a hard spot for him. But I do think he made some good plays in the run game. But Brian, did you answer your own question? Do you think Tyrann makes a big difference on this play?
So I think he does, but like of course, there's questions there that we unfortunately don't have access to ask exactly, like, for example, would Tyron have gotten Snead is late to even get lined up, right? Would Tyron have been there to communicate and get these guys in a better position from the snap? Because Snead is like moving laterally almost when the ball's snapped, and he still has that outside leverage. There's just things like that. All I can say is I think Tyrann Mathieu's agent is maybe the happiest person that is not a full-blown Chiefs fan about this game, because he probably made a little bit of money, unfortunately at the expense of an injury. But yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, this defense has never looked that exploitable. I even think the Bengals game, it wasn't this easy because there was still good coverage on those one-on-one routes, right? This game, man, Gabriel Davis was open every single. It seemed like it was never a contested play. And the one play we didn't break down that probably could have been a good one to break down was I actually do have it loaded up. We could throw it on, but the Juan Thornhill, the big touchdown, the long touchdown to Gabriel Davis. We might have time at the end of this, so just take a peek at that. But what we're going to do now is look at one last play that Bryan picked out he wanted to break down. We got a positive play to end what we got going on here, and we'll see if we end it here. But Frank Clark, 5-5, making plays in the playoffs. What else is new, Bryan? What else is new?
Yeah, Frank, his performance, that's something I took away in just watching through is he did a better job than maybe you would think just watching on the screen, because there were those moments where like Allen did his thing and outran Frank to the sideline. It's like, dang, you feel like, come on, make one of these plays. But really, he did a lot of good things. I will say at the start, the reason I added this play maybe more than anything is because early in the game in these situations, Spagnuolo was going with a lot of dime. And so, for example, the first 4th down, 4th and 2 in Buffalo territory, they were in the dime. They had Neiman and Sorensen in that linebacker role on a 4th and 2. And they ran a play very similar to this. It wasn't exactly this. This is QB counter. But it was a Josh Allen run to that side, to that outer edge. And they just took total advantage of the lack of size and strength that they had on the field. Unfortunately, those guys just aren't going to fight through a whole lot of blocks from offensive linemen. Sorensen, especially, Mike Hughes was involved down low in the box. So what they adjusted, though, was in the second half, nickel package was basically all Bolton and Gay. There really wasn't a lot of Hitchens, and that's something that I'm firmly believe needs to continue. These two, they got to play. We've been saying it, but Hitchens struggled in space Sunday from the start. And it's so frustrating because I understand you're not as quick as some of these guys, but he's on his heels, and it just drives me nuts. At least with Bolton, I know he's going to attack. But getting to this play specifically, so they do run QB counter, and this is just one of Clark's best plays of the night. Just to even make the tackle is pretty awesome, because we know Allen is a freak and he's huge. He's Clark's size. But the way that he takes on this kick out block, gets really low, but keeps his feet just enough to make the play. They took advantage of Chris Jones and his aggression getting upfield. They pinned him a lot, and that kind of made him almost they really neutralized him in plays like this. But and of course, too, I got to say, Willie, even though I think at times the reads were tough on these linebackers, this running game is tough. When they run Allen and they pull these guys every which way, I mean, not only do they confuse you with what your eyes are seeing, but you have to account for him. None of the other quarterbacks they might play from here on out can do this stuff, and they're not going to. So really a pain in the butt, I think, for these guys on defense. But this was an adjustment they made in the second half, and they had better results in terms of how they defended the quarterback run game. So, but again, they won't have to worry about that from now on this year. But nonetheless, good to see, and something that they'll hopefully continue with in terms of the personnel groupings in these situations.
Yeah, you said how tough it is to tackle Josh, and you can't really see it on this play, or this angle, I should say. But there's a good angle of Frank. Really, you can just see it. He just grabs his legs and just twists him, right, and like that is not something that is easy to do at Allen's size. Like that takes a lot of strength and just a lot of force. And I think Frank Clark is he's I think everyone knows he's powerful, but it does feel like he's not as known for his power, his strength, and I feel like he can bring it when he needs to. And so yeah, that's a great play, Talon. I mean, what else can you ask for? He's taking out 2 offensive linemen in space. I mean, that's just awesome.
Yeah, man, I don't even know if Frank was expecting to make the tackle. I think he was just trying to get these offensive linemen on the ground and free up guys behind him. And then all of a sudden Frank was like, oh hell. And it's just unbelievable play by Frank, man. I mean, I'm not really sure you could teach this. Like, this is just something that not a lot of guys can do. Like that's impressive.
Well, let me ask, because that's a great point that I don't think he was expected to make the tackle, because I think, I know that Allen should be cutting this inside, but I think that's where Gay comes in, where Gay's there, right? Gay forces him to bounce outside. He has nowhere to go. So, yeah, I think Frank just figured, I'm going to blow these guys up, and all of a sudden Allen's in my arms, and I'm going to make the play. So, Brian, was this on 3rd down? I should know.
This set up a 4th down, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
I thought so. Okay. Well, 3rd down, I mean, that just makes the play even better, right? I mean, that's just a great play. And you're right, Brian. They're not going to face, the quarterbacks they're facing for the rest of the playoffs. Potentially, none of them have much rushing ability at all, especially in the design run game. So that is something.
Unless they get Trey Lance.
Oh, that is a great point. You got me there, Talon. You're right. I can see the Niners pulling out some crazy packages if they do make it that far with those 2 weeks to go with Trey Lance. I could really see them going a little crazy with that. But getting ahead of ourselves, that was all the plays we had. But you know what, guys, we got about we're under an hour still, and I'm a little disappointed in ourselves because I was really expecting us to just go way off. I think we're naturally getting better at this, guys. We're naturally getting better. So even when we want to go long, we have perfect timing. But, I am going to bring up one more play, and I am bringing up a negative play. Do I want to do this? You know what? No, screw it. We're not bringing up a negative play. We're bringing up a positive play because one guy that got a lot of love deservedly from a big game after he's gotten a lot of crap this year was Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I really like this run from him, even though it's wide open. It's a huge hole. But what I really like about this run, first of all, he sets up Tremaine Edmonds, to hit that A gap, and then he bounces B gap, and that's what gets him all that space. But then this little speed cut right there. I really like that from Clyde, man. I feel like sometimes he's a little too. He takes a little too long to make his cuts, right? He might kind of hesitate a little too much. This is all you need to do at sometimes. Just put your foot in the ground, boom, get upfield. That's all you need to do sometimes. Micah Hyde's one of the best tackling safeties in the NFL, so that's another good play for him. So, yeah, before we get out of here, I mean, we talked a lot about the running back room. We talked a lot about the running game this year on the AP Film Room, and it does feel like it kind of all came to fruition in terms of Clyde had a big game on in the big stage after having a kind of a rough year at times. Talon, you're our offensive line guy. I mean, is this just perfectly blocked? Is this more Clyde? I think the setup, like I mentioned, was on him. But what did you see from Clyde? Did you just like what Clyde did on Sunday? Because I did.
Yeah, man, Clyde did an excellent job in his return game, and I think this play is designed to go in the A gap where he's starting to press, because you see Blake Bell coming in and pulling through and getting Milano, and you see Creed start to doubling up and then peeling off to Tremaine. And I think Clyde just takes advantage of the defensive end getting too far upfield. He presses the A gap, like you said, makes Tremaine commit, allows Creed to get a little bit of hand on him, then he bounces and just goes. And you're 100% right about he can get too choppy. But here, yeah, he just throttles down and goes, and that's exactly what you need from him. But yeah, in terms of offensive line, yeah, this is great. Tooney does an excellent job of clearing his guy out. And then Trey Smith as well is doing a great job of walling his guy, and Blake handles Milano. But yeah, this is just vision from Clyde, because again, I think this was designed to go straight up the field.
The vision thing. I think there is something to. I think Clyde has struggled sometimes to see exactly where he needs to go and just hit the hole. And that's not the case here, man. He sees where the seam is, and he does not hesitate once he makes that first initial cut. He just is sprinting. And I feel like that's sometimes where he just hasn't done that this year, where he sees a hole and just literally sprints straight. Like, don't think about anything else. Just sprint as fast as you can one direction. And I feel like he did that a couple times in this game. I don't have the other run clipped, but Bryan, you impressed with Clyde's day as well? And does this shake up, who you want? Because Jerick was a starting running back. He got 70% of the snaps on Sunday. Do we think about changing that up at all, Bryan, now that Clyde had a kind of maybe getting his getting his legs under him a little more now?
I think so. And that's, not the easiest thing to say, because I was thinking last week, not having seen Clyde in so long, like, I kind of thought if he didn't play at all, it wouldn't really make that much of a difference. But after what I saw Sunday, the first game, this game against the Bills is the first time where I thought, okay, that's the quickness that I saw in 2020. That's the agility I saw. Kind of thought we would get it after his first injury, but then you think about it and it's like, well, it was a lower body injury. So
yeah,
but this time he had an upper body injury. And so those legs really are fresh. And, or it could just be also, hey, this guy realizes he's got to play. He's got to do a job because he's losing it. He's losing that grasp. I mean, he didn't even start, and he's a first-round pick just last year. So there's a lot of factors at play. But if you want to paint the prettiest possible picture for the Chiefs and the potential run they've got ahead, I think it involves McKinnon and Clyde. And I don't know that they need much more than that. As long as those guys are playing like they have, they can't count on much more than that, right? Daryl's injured right now, so but I like what I see, and I think it'll be enough to get them where they need to go.
I think we're making great points today. I just keep telling you guys that you're making great points. And maybe I'm just biased here as a teammate of y'all's, but no, I think the part about that, there might be a little bit of a fire lit when you have someone look a little better than you, and all of a sudden they're getting their starting reps at practice. And I do think there's something to that, man. It's funny, actually. I saw someone tweet this. I wish I could give them credit, but it reminded me of another situation on this team that might be similar. Josh Gordon didn't do anything for this team, and it seems like he's not going to do anything for this team. But the one thing he might have done is maybe lit a fire under a guy like Mecole Hardman or Byron Pringle to maybe step up their game a little bit. So because all of a sudden the Chiefs don't trust them because they had to bring in another guy that's off the street, hasn't played in 2 years, and they want him to play maybe a little more. So I think competition brings the best out of all of us. I really do. And I think we could be seeing that with Clyde right now, where, Jerick looking pretty good. Clyde's like, you know what? I might, I got to take my backfield back. I mean, I got to show him who's boss. So I think that's a good observation, Bryan. So we're wrapping up here. We didn't go over an hour. Shout out us. We did a good job. Hope you guys enjoyed this content. And we are looking ahead to the Bengals now. Now, we didn't do any preview of the Bengals this time. We may be having something for you guys. I don't want to promise anything yet, but as we're looking ahead to the Bengals, Talon, how are you feeling about going into the AFC Championship, just in general, the Chiefs' chances at advancing to their third consecutive Super Bowl?
Yeah, the fact that, they just saw the Bengals a few weeks ago, that's going to be beneficial. They're playing at Arrowhead this time. There's a lot more on the line. Granted, they lost the 1 seed the last time, so it wasn't like they were playing for nothing. But yeah, so I do think this is going to be, Rashad Fenton is supposedly, getting healthy and on the right track to play. Tyrann Mathieu the same way. That's going to be huge, obviously, with the way the Bengals play ball. And, yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I'm happy for the Bengals. They're a franchise that has been, kind of stagnant for a long time, but the road is going to stop in Kansas City.
Totally agree. I before I throw it to you, Bryan, I really think, everyone wants to say maybe there's a letdown from how crazy of a game that was. I don't think you can have a letdown in the playoffs based on the game before or anything. I really do think this momentum that the Chiefs just got from winning the Bills game, I think is just going to roll. And I don't even know if the AFC Championship is going to be much of a game. Brian, what are you thinking about the AFC Championship?
Isn't it weird how it just doesn't feel the same as the last few years? Not right now, and a lot of that is because of this narrative that the game they just played was maybe the AFC Championship game. I do want to put more respect on the Bengals than that. Like, the Chiefs have got to show up and play and play clean to win. As upset as I was about the game against Cincinnati a few weeks ago, I think it's going to serve them well that they lost, because it's very easy. And I think Andy said it yesterday. These guys beat you 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
You know, how you can be as high as you want to be right now about what happened against the Bills, but when Andy looks at his team and says, this team beat you 3 weeks ago, you know, you're going to lock in. And I think the Chiefs themselves, they're more upset about it than we are. Like, they know what happened in Cincinnati. It was a lot of, I don't know, kind of fluky stuff, in my opinion. So,
Yep.
Now, I think the 7-point spread is more than fair, and
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me at all if, like you said, Ron, I don't think it's going to be. Joe Burrow's a sitting duck this time. They're not going to make the same mistakes, and the Chiefs are going to win the AFC, if you ask me.
Man, and I'll end it on this. I really just, you watch the Bengals Titans game. I mean, that was really all about just the Titans not showing up and winning that game. I mean, the Bengals gave them every reason to the Titans to win, and Tannehill kept screwing up. Just their offense couldn't get going. Joe Burrow got sacked 9 times, and they still won that game. That's just unbelievable to me. And that just shows you that I really do think it was just the Titans offense that screwed them.
Hey, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is a legitimate question. What's more impressive, the Chiefs getting down the field in 13 seconds to kick the game-tying field goal, or the Bengals winning with 9 sacks?
Yeah, actually it is a tough question, because you watched that game, man. You were like, how is Burrow even going to survive this game, let alone win this game? That's funny. I come on, we'd still say 13 seconds. I mean, come on. That's
of course. that was more of a rhetorical question.
Of course, no, but I'm. It was crazy. I mean, I could not believe the Titans couldn't pull that out. I mean, yeah. But we're not here to talk about Titans. We're here to talk about Chiefs, and that was a great video. Really appreciate you guys hopping on. Appreciate you guys watching. Keep listening. Keep watching. Listen to the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. We'll all three have some good stuff out on the website, arrowheadpride.com, this week as we get ready for a big game, guys. So for Ron, Talon, Brian, all follow us on Twitter. Check us out on the website, and we'll catch you next time.